Goodness gracious, takes it all out on that rim. One-hand slam.
Uline, Potawatomi Casino Hotel, Cousin Subs, and Michelob Ultra. You've been listening to Bucks Basketball on the home of the Bucks, WTMJ.
Hey, John Mercure here for Guthrie & Fry Water Conditioning. I've got their water softener. I've got an RO system from Guthrie & Fry. That means the water coming into my house is filtered. It's crisp, clean, clear. Better water makes a big difference. Guthrie & Fry. Quality products and services at a fair price from a local company you can trust. Guthrie & Fry protects the water in my house. They deliver the salt. Sue and Rob, owners, very generous. And on top of it, they'll treat your family like their family. Southeast Wisconsin's #1 choice is Guthrie & Fry.
Better water makes a big difference. Guthrie & Fry.
Craft your Brewers mini plan for the 2025 season, featuring all new 6-packs and 12-packs. Get in on the action with great ticket rates, marquee matchups, and priority seating. Plus, you'll get a limited edition Brewers Crowler with each 12-pack or pair of 6-packs. Looking to customize your games to fit your schedule? Build your own ticket plan options are also available. Pick the plan for you at brewers.com/ticket finder.
Tune in on Sundays at 10 a.m. for the AccuNet Mortgage and Realty Show. Join AccuNet's Brian and David Wickert for the most up-to-date information on mortgage trends, along with timely news on the real estate market. The housing market is in flux, but the national headlines don't often fit local market conditions. Find out what's really happening on the front lines of real estate and mortgage financing in Wisconsin and make better decisions by tuning in every Sunday at 10 a.m. The AccuNet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian and David Wickert on WTMJ.
Don't think twice. Call Geis.
Since 1955, Geis has been the trusted garage authority in Wisconsin. Hey, don't let a busted garage door get you down. Call my friends at Geis today. With brands like CHI and LiftMaster, they have doors for every budget. They'll even build custom designs to meet your exact needs. For swift and reliable garage repair solutions, go to geisdoors.com. You can also visit their amazing showroom in Brookfield featuring hundreds of doors and openers and their custom design room.
Don't think twice. Call Geis.
Heart disease won't stop us. Diabetes, allergies, cancer. Nothing will keep the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network from pushing Wisconsin ahead. We're constantly raising the bar for medical excellence and providing more ways to receive it, so you have it for all your health needs, big and small. Let's push ahead, and we'll make life here as great as it can be. Visit Freighter.com to find out how.
Now that the game is done, it's our time to check in.
Giannis the other direction. He's got it on the near wing left. He's going to tee one up from three. And why not? What a start for the Bucks tonight.
Bucks Talk starts now.
White long three late in the shot clock, and he rips the cords. That's that confidence and swagger this Boston team used en route to 64 wins a season ago in their 18th NBA.
And now, live from Fiserv Forum, here's Justin Garcia and Brandon Snide.
Well, a lot of the same discussion that we're going to have today that we have had for the previous 9 games. The record sits at 2-8 for the Bucks to open up the season. Obviously not what anybody expected to see. Not what Doc Rivers expected. I mean, he said that bluntly before the game. All of a sudden you're 2-7. And the next thing, you know, you could possibly win the NBA Cup. But it's not what I expected us to be. It's not where I expected us to be in terms of our record. I don't know what that number is. I just know it's not this. But I am very confident in this group. I think, look, if we remove the middle portion, and I understand it's already a small sample size, but the Bulls game, the Brooklyn Nets game, granted it came after a game against the Boston Celtics, but the Memphis Grizzlies game. If you remove those 3 games, and we're talking about a team that's sitting at 2-5, that's one thing. It's still not great, but you feel like, okay, they've at least been in these games, and I've liked what I've seen overall. I think today was almost to a T what we saw against the Celtics 2 weeks ago in Boston, where you played pretty good for 3 of the 4 quarters. But the Celtics, I mean, it's the same conversation I used to have about the Bucks years ago. You got to play 48 minutes to beat this team. They were a deep team. It was, and I don't want this to sound like, I mean, Giannis is out of his peak, but it was peak Giannis, and everything was clicking with that team. You had to play 48 minutes to beat them. It's no different for the Celtics. It's no different for a team like, as we've seen so far, the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that's where the Bucks have fallen short in these games, is they play well for a majority, at least recently. They play well for a majority of the game, but unfortunately, without Chris Middleton, with everything else that's been against this team, 36 minutes isn't enough to beat a very, very good team. You have to play well for 48 minutes, and you didn't get it tonight. And I think it was especially frustrating for Doc Rivers because he noted on the postgame, you never see me call a timeout 90 seconds in to a quarter, a game, a half, whatever it is. And I had to do that tonight in the third quarter, today in the third quarter, because you blinked and it was a 5-point game, 11-5, and then eventually the lead is gone. It took the Celtics less than 3 minutes to eliminate that 11-point lead after the Bucks seemingly did everything perfectly, or at least well enough in the first half offensively. Defense isn't even a discussion for me today. There is nothing outside of nitpicking to have a problem with that you saw defensively. Sure, there were some lapses. It was no different than what you see from most any other team in the league, and I think this defense did enough to win the game or give you a chance to win the game. It was the third quarter offense that was ultimately their undoing. And, look, I don't mean to keep having the conversation that, well, maybe it'll look different when Chris Middleton is there. I think there's no way it doesn't look differently when Chris Middleton is there. Unfortunately, we don't know when Chris Middleton is going to be there. So in the interim, you just got to find a way to make it work without him.
Yeah, man, frustrating game today, Justin. If you were to draw up a game to begin, how the Bucks started this game against the Celtics today was picture perfect. Yeah. I mean, it was absolutely perfect. Taurean Prince involved early, Giannis dominating early, Brook hitting a big shot. You don't have, if you're a Bucks fan, and I know it's easy to kind of point the finger at a lot of different things, today you just got outplayed by a better team. I mean, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard off the bench. I mean, the Celtics have so many punches they can throw against opponents, and they do it so well. I mean, they were left for dead early in this game, and Peyton Pritchard pulled them out of the ground. I mean, 18 points for him off the bench. I think at halftime he had 14 off the bench. Was it 17? Okay, 17 at half. So shout out to Ryan Rollins in that second half. I know a lot of Bucks fans on social media weren't happy with him. I thought he was fantastic. I thought the Bucks did everything today that they should have done, Justin. I really do. You're just looking at a team that's deeper, a little bit more talented, and obviously more healthy. I think if you want to nitpick something, it's just Damian Lillard picked the wrong day to have an off day. 15 points, or was it 14 points for him? Outside of Bobby Portis scoring 15, Bobby Portis was your second leading scorer behind Giannis's 43. I mean, Dame he didn't shoot the ball well tonight, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. He's going to have days like this, but against a team like the Celtics, that's what's going to undo a potential victory and walking out of here with a win, and that's what did it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's nitpicking, the Dame aspect. I mean, it's to me, it's a product of this is the defense for the Celtics. And Doc talked about some of the issues that they were up against and things they could have and should have done differently and done better to get Damian Lillard going. But Dame was struggling in the first half to get those types of looks. And what offset it was Giannis. 19-point first quarter. Giannis offset that. The ball movement offset that as well. When you think about some of those opportunities and moments, A.J. Green hit some tough shots in this game. Bobby Portis, I thought, had a very good first half in this game. Not only, the scoring lift that he gave you, but Bobby Portis was active on the glass and being involved there. You had those secondary guys that were just finding opportunities because the ball was moving, and that stopped in the second half. And when that stops, then you become a two-man team of Giannis and Damian Lillard. And when that's the case, well, even when they both are on, as we've seen, they lost earlier in the week when they scored 75 combined points. Like, you're going to need 80 or so points from those guys total if you are just a two-man team. So to me, that was the larger issue with this offense. And, I don't want to use the word troubling, but we heard Doc Rivers kind of get into it as well in the postgame of kind of talking through some of these things and ball movement and things they need to see, and we got to come up with this. but I don't know how many times we can start to have a lot of the same conversations before you have to say, well, what is really going on here? And when I say that, I don't mean the coaching staff. I think it's a further look. Look, if we're having this conversation now with 3 different head coaches, granted, it was nowhere near the volume of this with Mike Budenholzer, but, I think people have a revisionist history at times that, especially the year they won the championship, it was not pretty early in the season where there was a lot of these, what's going on here? That's when they brought switching to the defense, and there was a lot of, this looks like a mess, even offensively. After they won the championship, that last year, I know they were the 1 seed, and they started out very, very well. I think it was a 9-game win streak to start the season, but in the playoffs and everything else, we'd get to the same spot and have these conversations. And, man, what is going on with the offense, and why is this happening? I have a hard time blaming Bud. I have a hard time blaming Adrian Griffin, Doc Rivers, any coach, if it's constant that we're having at least parts of that conversation annually now, regardless of who it is on the sidelines.
Yeah, and especially with basketball too, Justin. I think I don't want to sound. This is going to sound a little crazy, but coaching just is a little over. I mean, there's too much put into it. Good and bad. I think in the game of basketball, I think a lot of times it comes down to the players on the court. Obviously, the coaches have to pull the right strings. They have to the rotations and timeouts, and there's moments where coaches can influence a game, but a lot of it is the players on the court. And I know the Bucks going through 3 head coaches in the last year and a half, is kind of the easy scapegoat to a lot of issues, especially when you begin the season 2-8. But a lot of the same issues that you're seeing with this Bucks team still are existing. You can go back to what you said, all the way back to Mike Budenholzer, and it's frustrating because this is the golden age of Bucks basketball. It's not going to get any better than it was in 2021, and you're at the moment in as a franchise, as a team, where you're going to look back at these days where you had 2 top 75 players of all time, and this year still needs to be written. Obviously, it's not over, but the last few years have been disappointing, to say the least, and this year's trending in that direction. Can the Bucks turn it around? Certainly. Do I think they will? I do. The schedule eases up a little bit starting Tuesday, all the way really through. I only looked through Christmas, so it gets a lot better for them to get some wins in the direction that they need to go into to make a push in spring. But energy and effort are 2 things that you don't see in a box score, but ultimately can win and will lose you games.
855-616-1620, the number to join us today on Bucks Talk. Well, tonight. It's evening time now, but the number to join us tonight on Bucks Talk. I feel like we've had quite a few negative conversations. So there were some positives from this. I do want to shine a light on that in what we've seen from some of the young guys and just what it means for this team, especially on the defensive end. We'll get into that conversation after this on Bucks Talk.
This is Bucks Talk.
When severe weather hits and the power goes out, do you have a plan? For reliable power and peace of mind, propane can do that. It only takes about 10 seconds for a propane-powered generator to restore power to your home. So no matter what Mother Nature has in store, you know you're prepared. Learn more at WIPGA.org. This message is sponsored by your local propane provider and the Wisconsin Propane Education and Research Council.
During your career, investments piled up. From 401ks to brokerage accounts, it turned into quite a collection. At Annex Wealth Management, we believe every portfolio tells a story. We've analyzed thousands. Some reflect diligence and fortitude. Others, a mishmash of overlapping investments. When Annex reviews a portfolio, we spot what works, what might not, and then provide unbiased suggestions. Every portfolio tells a story. Let's work on yours. Investment, retirement, tax, and estate planning as a fee-only fiduciary. That's our story. Head to AnnexWealth.com.
Vince Vitrano here for Connect Chiropractic. Numbness, tingling in the hands, arms, legs, feet. Time to go see Dr. Alex Young and my team at Connect Chiropractic. Regular chiropractic care can bring life-changing results for folks who suffer from neuropathy and fibromyalgia, nervous system issues that can be corrected. And no worries about twisting, cracking, or popping. The docs at Connect Chiro use all the same method, a special tool that is pain-free and effective for your adjustments. Visit them in Delafield and Wauwatosa or get started online at GoConnectChiro.com. CareConnect.com.
When you work with us, you'll know what you're going to get. And most importantly, you'll know exactly what you're going to pay us to list and sell your home. Talk to any Benefit Realty agent and ask about our commission. You will always get the same answer. You may find that others aren't ready to be as straightforward as we are right off the bat. They may try to meet with you first, and from there, you'll probably have to haggle your commission. And if you're lucky, you might be able to get them to reduce their commission to what we charge. But who wants that? Benefit Realty is going to make this easy for you with no upfront fees and 1.9% real estate commission, and we even one-up it from there. We cap our commission so that no matter what size property you're selling, for the listing side of your sale, your savings will be substantial. And if you're selling a luxury portfolio kind of home, substantial is an understatement. And finally, if you're not happy at any time with the service you're getting, we won't hold you to the term of your contract. This is Angela Calais with Benefit Realty, where you pay less for full service. Benefit-realty.com.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station. Welcome back to Bucks Talk.
113-107, the final here. Celtics are 9-2. The Bucks are 2-8 to start the season. I mean, I think we've already plowed over that same piece of grass in terms of what are the bad things we've seen in these first 10 games. I do think, and I guess, Brandon, this is what I'm looking for most Tuesday against the Raptors. Not only winning the game, because that's the spot the Bucks are in, but defensively, carry this over. You did enough to give yourself a chance against the Boston Celtics. And I was talking off the air with a few people here in the booth after the first quarter and said, there's a couple of years ago when the Celtics were starting their ascent, and to me it goes back to, what year would that have been? 2021, when the Bucks played the Celtics at home on Christmas Day. And Celtics made a game of it. I mean, that was when we thought Giannis wasn't going to play and everybody was going to be out because of COVID restrictions. The Celtics were down guys in that game as well, but they made a game of it, and it was close down to the end in a game the Bucks should have won convincingly. And from that point forward, it's been something against the Celtics team that there's been no fear of the Bucks from the Celtics. From that point forward, we saw it carry over into the playoffs, where they beat the Bucks. Granted, no Chris Middleton, but they came in here. Jason Tatum had one of the best games of his career to win Game 6, and that's when you really got that pit in your stomach of, oh, man, here we go. I bring all that up to say I don't think there's a fear of the Celtics in this Bucks team. That in the last year saying the crazy part about all of this is I do feel like they match up relatively well. Like, I know nobody's going to match up unless you're Oklahoma City or something like that, the Timberwolves to a lesser extent a year ago, with the Celtics, with the perimeter talent that they have. But everything else with this matchup, I do think the Bucks are in a better spot now than they were with the previous iteration of the Bucks. And to me, what kind of backs that up is they were close games in Boston, or at least became close down the stretch last year, both of them. This year, you played really good, really well for 3 quarters, had a chance to win that game. The last 3 home games with this version of the Bucks versus this version of the Celtics, you have had a double-digit lead at halftime in each of those 3 games. You have scored 41, 40, and 37 points in the first quarter. Like, they don't look at the Celtics and say, oh, boy, here we go. There is that lack of fear, and they feel like, hey, we can get it against this team. It's just necessary for 48 minutes. And I don't know if that is an age factor where it's, hey, I can go hard to start the game, but then it starts to wear on you the older that you are. I don't know if it's that. Doc even joked before the game today, there's a difference between being old and plain old. Like, sometimes you just wake up old, that you feel like, oh, this isn't a good day. So I don't know if it's that, if it's scheme, if it's being outcoached, what it is, but the Bucks don't view these matchups with dread. The Bucks still come into these matchups with confidence. And look, you haven't gotten the results. It's a results-oriented business. But that's at least something to say, okay, figure this stuff out, because they don't view this as we have no chance against the Celtics. By record, you haven't had much of a chance the last year plus. But that's not what the belief is within that locker room. Now, how do you get there? We've started to see an injection of youth. And I know it was called for quite a bit last year. I'll just say 2 players that have come under fire the most by Bucks fans. I thought overall either played pretty good or, they were okay tonight in Pat Connaughton and Bobby Portis.
I'd agree.
Pat Connaughton continues to give you the one thing that outside of Giannis, nobody else on this team does. And I suppose to a lesser extent Dame. When we talk about the ball sticking, it doesn't with Pat Connaughton. You can point to the shooting numbers. You can point to, he's too small to defend these guys. You can point to whatever it is on your list of reasons you don't like Pat Connaughton. That's fine. Being a facilitator like that, keeping things moving, that is not one area where you have any gripes, legitimately, with Pat Connaughton. And that's been an issue for this team. So I get putting him out there and saying, look, we need the ball to keep moving. Andre Jackson Jr., I don't think played in the fourth quarter. Didn't play much in the third quarter. And we talked about this a couple of games ago. You love what you're seeing from Ajax, but I need to see this against the Celtics. I need to see this against better perimeter defenders because it still remains a question if you can play him with Giannis, at least for extended minutes together, given it's 2 non-shooters that are on the floor. And Doc Rivers bluntly said tonight, no, we couldn't. We learned that early in the third quarter that they were just kind of sagging off him. They were leaving him in the corner. His man was doing other things, so we felt we needed offense in those spots. We're going to continue to work on how to use him there. But defensively, look, not every team is the Celtics, so that's the positive that, look, you're going to have more ways to sneak Andre Jackson Jr. on the floor. But by the time you play this team again for the final regular season time this season, December 10th, that's the type of progress you need to see. And it's not just Andre Jackson, hey, we need you to become something you're not. It's the coaching staff, the rest of this team, the players on the floor. How do we involve him? How do we find the right spots for him? But Ryan Rollins, and I feel like this has been a musical chairs to start the season of who is the favorite young player for the Bucks. For a while we heard play Ajax more, play AJ Green more. Ryan Rollins is going to be the next guy. And honestly, Brandon, he may have the clearest path to very, very consistent minutes because of the position that he plays in and because of the fact that there's no injury. DeLon Wright has not been on the injury report. And this, I was talking with somebody else before the game today and saying, what have you heard? What's going on with DeLon Wright? This goes back to the first Celtics game this season, where we saw Peyton Pritchard get loose and knock down that 3 at the end of the half.
Buck killer.
Where it was DeLon Wright's responsibility. And Doc Rivers, you could see animated and very upset and talking about these are things that can't happen. He has just been removed from the rotation in place of Ryan Rollins, not because of that play, but because it was a rough start to the season in terms of his offense. We heard he was on a bit of a minutes restriction because of plays like that and because of the fact that Ryan Rollins has not made those plays. Ryan Rollins has made plays. The 3 blocked shots today, getting back, I think it was Nehemias Queta that was out there on the fast break, and Ryan Rollins was the one that got back. Even though Taurean Prince had a clear line to him, Ryan Rollins gets back, knocks it off of him. Bucks ball. He scored 0 points today, but he was one of the best players on the floor for the Bucks.
I know you're not a big plus or minus guy, and that's fine. He was one of only 2 players to be in the positives.
And that matches the eye test.
And that matches the eye test. He was +8. He was the highest. The other one you mentioned a little bit ago was Pat Connaughton, +6.
I was going to say he had to be the other one.
Yeah, and so I think you're spot on, Justin. I really do, and I think going forward you're going to definitely see more out of him. To go back to your Ajax, I thought he started the game out on Jason Tatum. I know Tatum finished with 31. He eventually found his rhythm as the game went on, but he was really, really good against Jason Tatum. At one point in that first quarter, Tatum had more fouls than points.
Yeah.
I mean, he was frustrating the hell out of Tatum. So, and I think that's still a fluid situation. I still think those are things that are still formulating for the Bucks. And, I mean, this is only, Ajax's third start, I believe, third off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I think since he got inserted into that starting lineup. But, yeah, I mean, the young talent is something that, I've been banging that drum all season long, and even last year. And you look at, two of the more positive things, if you want to look at this Bucks team, has been A.J. Green off the bench, who just does not miss consistently, and Andre Jackson Jr. And obviously, one of those two guys are looking to score, and rightfully so, but it's not a primary thing for A.J. Green, and that's what I like about watching him play. The thing with Ajax, and Doc Rivers mentioned it, he wants guys on the court that don't always are looking to score, and I think he fits, obviously, that mold. The issue you're going to run into is, like you mentioned before, is putting him on the floor with Giannis and having two non-shooters. But Rollins, man, he just keeps getting better. And Pritchard was torching the Bucks. You said it, 17 points in the first half, and what an adjustment for him, especially for a young player, man. In a pivotal game, you're 2-7, you're going up against the defending champions, and Pritchard was a non-factor. The only point he had was that technical foul, which that delay of game, which was whatever. Yeah. But I mean, he was awesome.
Yeah, and for Ryan Rollins specifically, there was. Overall, I thought he was very good on Peyton Pritchard. There was a couple of moments in the first half we can rehash a bit with this team, but A.J. Green as well. My optimism remains in seeing what this team is going to be able to do differently when Chris Middleton is back, how they play. Because tonight was another night. Today was another day where, kind of like the discussion after the Knicks game of, do you have to go small? I had that thought today, too, because it's not Twin Towers for the Celtics. It's Al Horford. It's Nehemias Queta that was out there as well. Those were their bigs. So do you have to just embrace this and say Giannis is the 5 and maybe Ajax is the 4, and that's how you sneak him and Giannis on the floor together against the Celtics in those minutes if you have A.J. Green, Damian Lillard, other shooters out there with him, or Taurean Prince, guys that can shoot to help balance the floor a little bit. But I do wonder if that's what we start to see this team move to once Chris Middleton makes his return, as they start to play smaller more consistently. Not to say that Brooke and Bobby, there's no home for you on this team and you can never play again. No, it's matchup based and you pick your spots of where it is, because we still have the conversation over identity. Giannis has brought it up. Doc Rivers has brought it up about we got to find what the identity is. The fact that you should know what your identity is when you're an older team, when you're not, we saw what the Pacers were able to do during the regular season and the playoffs against you, and Doc has joked many times, if this was the Olympics, we're not in track. We're in shot put and other things. It's screaming our identity should be we're the bigger, more physical team. Like, if you're going to get out there on the perimeter, fine. We're going to get every rebound. We're going to make sure you're not getting shots at the rim. We're going to bruise you on our way to the rim. Like, that's how we're going to play. And that hasn't been the case. And the longer that's not the case, the more you have to consider, do we have to match what other teams are doing? And do we have to be a team that plays smaller for at least a large portion of this game, and not just finding these stretches of 5 to 6 minutes where you do it? So we'll get into that as well. The latest on Chris Middleton, it's not a massive update. We did get a bit of an update from Doc Rivers, and some other thoughts on everything we've seen floating around there, going back to the locker room quote that Giannis gave after that Knicks game. We'll get into all that coming up after this on Bucks Talk.
You're listening to Bucks Talk.
Do you remember that electric moment when you suddenly realized that she was the one?
The one you were going to love forever.
The one you'd been waiting your whole life to meet.
She is the one.
The one.
Now it's time to find the one engagement ring that sparkles like she does.
Come to Kessler's Diamonds. We have a collection of incredibly special diamond engagement rings called the One Collection.
You need one special engagement ring for the one woman you will ever love.
Kessler's Diamonds is the one jewelry store where you can find the One Collection.
And Kessler's is the one store that offers the world-famous, no excuses, no fine print, lifetime warranty on every diamond engagement ring we sell.
We have the freedom to do this for you because Kessler's Diamonds is the one diamond store owned by its employees.
The One Collection starts at just $550.
Welcome to Kessler's.
Find the Kessler's nearest you at Kessler'sDiamonds.com.
Did
home suffer damage from a storm or severe weather? Don't stress any longer. Loyal Family Renovations treats all of its customers like they've joined their personal family, and every project as if the work was being done at their own house. Loyal Family Renovations has a leg up on the competition due to the personal relationships they've built with insurance adjusters over the years. Loyal Family is family-owned, and the loyalty belongs to their customers. Contact them today to get your free home inspection. LoyalFamilyRenovations.com.
Get ready for the moment we've all been waiting for. It's the 300K season finale giveaway at Potawatomi. Friday, December 20th, watch your entries from Bird Bash, Cash Clash, and Winter Stash. All pile into one massive drawing for a chance at up to 50 grand cash. Be there to win your share. December 20th, only at Potawatomi Casino Hotel, Milwaukee. Learn more at paysbig.com/finale. Must be 21 years old to play.
Hey, Wisconsin, Jim Bob Morse here. Get ready to break out the Bandito with El Bandito Yankee, the official tequila of game day. 100% blue Weber agave, award-winning, all-natural, additive-free, and the smoothest tequila Milwaukee, Madison, and Titletown has ever tasted. Get yours today at La Pina on 3rd Street or your favorite local store. Remember, you always win with the undefeated flavor of El Bandito Yankee tequila. And for events, recipes, and places for purchase, go to elbanditoyankee.com.
The Round Ball Repartee returns. This is Bucks Talk.
113 to 107 the final, so the Bucks 2-8 to start this young season. You know, let's first of all, let's go back to the two things to clear up. Well, maybe not clear up with Chris Middleton, but Doc even joked today, I'm going to be happy when I don't have to answer these questions anymore. But Chris was able to get some work in yesterday. He is unsure if it progressed to 4-4, but it was at least some 3-on-3 work done. He's not going to return until he gets 5-on-5 work in practice. Who knows when that's going to be, but again, you got a lot of home games in November. And you have some very weird stretches, too, especially towards the end of the month, where I think you played 2 games over the last 8 or 9 days of the month of November, because you're not playing the day after Thanksgiving. You're not playing the day before Thanksgiving. No team plays on Thanksgiving, so you have some of these extended time off built in, and a lot of it is going to be home. You have 2 home-and-home back-to-backs this month. So I bring all that up to say there's going to be increased opportunities to continue to get that work in for Chris Middleton. That's number one. I think if you are a socially active person and someone that lives on social media, you have probably seen a lot of the same narrative so far to start this season, and that the sky is falling and Giannis is going to be traded and Damian Lillard is going to be traded. And you looked at Friday night and you saw something that was dramatically taken out of context of, well, this is a sign that Giannis doesn't want to be here. When the Bucks put this out there on their YouTube page, too, that you can watch it, where Giannis is answering and talked about we weren't competitive. You saw the level of competitiveness today was certainly not in question in that first half to start the game. The Bucks were the team that was diving on the floor for loose balls. Yeah. They were tracking down rebounds.
I think AJ Green was on the ground like 3 or 4
a couple of times. They were active. But everybody points to the Giannis line in there of, if you don't want to be here, then leave. I'm serious. You know who he was talking to?
Yeah, I do. A reporter.
Right.
Which is interesting.
We took this as, what player was he talking about? What coach was he talking about? It was a reporter that looked bored and rolled their eyes in the background of that interview.
I mean, I think, does that speak more for that reporter or where Giannis is right now? He's frustrated. I mean, rightfully so. But, man, 43 points tonight, 13 rebounds. He did everything he could. You mentioned it, I think, at the beginning of this show, or at least the BMO Bucks postgame show. Peak Giannis, man, dominating. And this team is going to take after Giannis. What he does on and off the court is how this team is going to go. If he's out there, he's diving for loose balls. You saw the effort from A.J. Green tonight. Ryan Rollins, you mentioned 3 blocks. Ajax doing everything imaginably possible to get the team into the right direction. Good times still lie ahead, I think, for this Bucks team. It's very tough right now, Justin, to look at 2-8. I I joked about it after the Bulls game, our home opener, that, well, they could start 2-8 because I looked at the schedule. I really hate that I was right in that because I really didn't think that was possible with this team. And that's the frustrating part about all of this is because the talent is there, the coaching staff is there. It's very frustrating to watch this team. Watch what the Celtics did today is what the Bucks used to do to teams in years past.
Yep.
Maybe
That's
off to a little bit of a slow start in the game, but wear teams down, work them out, work the ball around, move the ball around.
Yeah, it's a great point because I remember on this show years ago having that. You got to play 48 minutes to beat the Bucks.
Yeah.
The game that stood out the most to me in terms of my recollection with that was a game against the Charlotte Hornets in, I think it was the 2019-20 season, when before everything started to fall apart in the world and the league, the Bucks were on pace to win 73 games.
Yeah.
And there was a game at home against the Hornets where nothing was going right for the Bucks. It was a cold shooting night. It's back in the days when those were rarities. It was a cold shooting night. The Hornets were hitting everything. And the Bucks were down by 20 points at one point in that game where everybody in this arena was stunned of like, what's going on with this Bucks team? And then before you knew it, the 20 became 15 and 12 and 8. And you could just feel every single time a run is about to come with this team. Like, they'll go on a run. It's just a matter of can they finish it off. But Eric Name and I used to joke about this, of the wave is coming. Like, you're on the beach, you can look out there and you can see the wave's about to hit. It's a matter of how big is it. And they ended up winning that game. You had a lot of performances like that. This is the inverse. Boston is that version. Where even at up 11, you knew the run is coming. And that, to me, is what stood out the most and what I was most pleased with in the first half was, you could look at the box score and you could say, for a game where the Bucks shot, what was it in the first half? Very good. Great numbers.
I think it was 54%, if I'm off the top of my head.
So in the first half, Bucks shot 58%.
58%, yeah.
59% on threes. Yep. But the Celtics made one more three. And the Celtics shot 41% from the floor. You had 27 from Giannis, but everybody was involved. 9 from Taurean Prince, 9 from Dame, 9 from Bobby Portis. A.J. Green knocked down a pair of threes. So you just felt like for everything that the Bucks have done well in this game, you kind of feel like that 11-point lead, it actually needs to be like 16, 17, somewhere around there, because you knew the charge was going to come from the Celtics. But the positive that I took from all of it was there was no run in the first half. Like, you knew Boston has it in him. But anytime Boston would do something, the Bucks kept that margin at about 10 for the whole first half. You never let them do what it took them 2 minutes to do in the third quarter. So that's what you are most optimistic about, knowing, hey, by the numbers, this lead should be bigger, and this is a pretty good team that is going to go on some type of run. It's a matter of how do we answer it. But they did a good job of holding them off in the first quarter. And then the first 2 minutes of the third, it's
12-0 run, I think.
It's not even that you let go of the rope. It was just, I don't know if you even knew the rope was there.
Very discombobulated to begin that third quarter, too. There were a couple sets where they just, two guys in the same spot, A.J. Green passing it to nobody, and the Celtics took clear advantage of it. But I think that when you look at these two teams, Justin, you mentioned it before and how the Bucks have no fear for them. The big piece for this was, to me, is Chris Middleton. I feel like he is really, really good against Boston. And I believe it was the right before the Bucks started off their run, maybe 2018, 2019 playoffs. He had a real good series against Boston. But if you ask the Boston fan base, and I know a handful of Boston fans, there's one team in the Eastern Conference they still fear. And it's not Indiana, it's not Miami, it's not New York, it's the Milwaukee Bucks.
Well,
and even at this record that they're at right now.
I don't know if fear would be the proper word at this point. 855-616-1620, the number to join us tonight. Ryan Rollins, we touched on it briefly, but Ryan Rollins very impactful in this game today. What are some moving forward points for him? What is the possible usage we could see for Ryan Rollins, who continues to impress in the limited opportunities he gets? We'll get into that conversation next on Bucks Talk.
The Hardwood Homilies continue after this. This is Bucks Talk.
Hey, John Mercure here for Azura Memory Care and Assisted Living. Their mission is to transform the culture of care. They specialize in caring for those with early to late stage Alzheimer's or other related dementia symptoms, memory care issues. It's Azura Memory Care and Assisted Living. I've been in their places. I love how they deal with people. It's about compassion and empathy at Azura. Kindness is at their core. 14 locations from the Mississippi to Lake Michigan, 4 here in the Milwaukee area. Wisconsin-based and family-owned. It's about kindness and care. It's Azura Memory Care and Assisted Living.
Call quality for the signature service you deserve.
For 60 years, we've been known as Quality Heating, offering the highest levels of HVAC expertise. But when I took over for Greg, I saw the potential to add services for all your home needs. We do heating and cooling so well, I figured, why not offer new trades to give all-around home service to our customers? So along with heating and cooling, we now offer top-flight plumbing and electric services. There's no subs here, and we all work under the quality code of taking pride in the Midwestern work ethic, and more importantly, Midwestern morals. You know, much of our trade has gone corporate with private equities, but we remain a family-owned company. This is Anthony Zanevsky with Quality, offering heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. For the signature service you deserve, call Quality.
Call quality for the signature service you deserve.
Call Quality, now offering heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric.
WTMJ's Vince Vitrano talking with Dr. Mike Nolte at Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Doc, a lot of people are hesitant to visit a surgeon for spine care.
The good news is that the vast majority of patients that I see and the majority of conditions that I can see can be successfully treated without surgery. And I don't want patients to think that just because you're seeing a spine surgeon means that you're going to be signing up for surgery. We talk about, in my clinic, kind of a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C.
Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, there is a difference. orthowisconsin.com.
Home practice is about to begin. Your daughter's new tap shoes? Loud. Your son's new tuba? Louder. But you got this. Just like Associated Bank's got you with $50 overdraft Greystone. So if you lose track of expenses buying some noise-canceling and sanity-saving headphones, we've got your back. You got this with $50 overdraft Greystone from Associated Bank. See AssociatedBank.com/checking or ask a banker for details. Member FDIC.
This is Bucks Talk.
He's going to launch a long three. Missed it way short. Pritchard with a rebound, but blocked by Rollins on a jump ball. That is 3 plays in this fourth quarter from Ryan Rollins, who has bailed the Bucks out with that long reach and athleticism as he blocks the shot.
Ryan Rollins, what we have seen from him so far, especially today. I mean, today was the master class from Ryan Rollins. But what intrigues me the most, and I remember seeing this a week or so ago, immediately when Ryan Rollins found himself on the floor and got some playing time, was, number one, I mean, this was, I believe, a Warriors draft pick and part of their G League prior to joining the Bucks last year. If you're a part of that system, there's something that Golden State has really cultivated. They see in guys they like that usually translates well to other teams as well. But I just remember stumbling upon his wingspan and thinking, that seems interesting, and looking at Derek White, looking him up too to see how tall is Derek White and what is Derek White's wingspan, because Derek White is the best shot blocking guard in the league, and it has been cumulatively for the last 5 seasons. We saw another one of them tonight. We saw another play where Derek White at least slowed Giannis down. Ryan Rollins is 6'4". He has a 6'10" wingspan. Derek White is 6'4", and I think he has a 6'11" wingspan. So, you look at those types of things, and you think, okay, it's not that 6'4" is small for a point guard. I think a lot of his role may be a combo guard for Ryan Rollins, but that reach, that's what's going to help you out immensely as a guard. the footwork that he saw, I know we talked about what he did, and Doc specifically chose to highlight how he learned within the game. And it shows me that he's a quick learner, and some of those plays with Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard, to me, Ryan Rollins was the guy that was responsible for him. And again, as we mentioned, he's replaced DeLon Wright, at least for the time being in the rotation. DeLon Wright struggled with Peyton Pritchard in game one. I don't think Ryan Rollins did. To me, it was really like 3 plays that got Peyton Pritchard going. There were 2 screens that he just couldn't get through that opened up clear shots for Peyton Pritchard. And if Peyton Pritchard, doesn't matter where it is on the floor, it could be an 80-foot heave. If he has an open look, he's going to hit it against the Bucks. Another one was where he just got him with a head fake, where he got Ryan Rollins leaning one way, went behind a screen, got an open look, and knocked down a 3. Granted, the offense didn't run through Peyton Pritchard, and he didn't see quite as many opportunities in the second half. I don't know how much of that was individually because of Ryan Rollins, but the point being, you didn't see any of that in the second half. So the more you see from him, the more you absolutely like and think, okay, this sticks. Maybe it's 10 minutes a game when this team is at full strength, but he absolutely has earned, until he doesn't, a spot in this rotation and more playing time. So I keep going back to when you see that, when you see the energy that Andre Jackson Jr. has given you, when you see the shooting that A.J. Green has given you, the problem is you don't have any players that are bigger, that are big wings, that are bigs, that are younger and giving you those same type of things. And that's what keeps driving me back to, number one, my guy that has still yet to see the court, and Chris Livingston.
He's up here, though.
He is. But that's what keeps bringing me back to, do you just have to embrace playing small?
Yeah.
And say it's Giannis and Taurean Prince, or it's Giannis and Chris, or it's Giannis and Brook Lopez, and we pick our spots where we bring in other guys, where we play more traditionally, and we pick in spots where we can say maybe it's Giannis and Brook on the floor together, and we're playing 3 guards. We're playing Dame, Ryan Rollins, A.J. Green, or Ajax, and a combination of them. But you can't do it yet because Chris Middleton isn't back on the floor. The more I see, though, from these other guys, the more it really pushes me toward, I think you're going to see a lot of Chris Middleton as your small ball 4 when he's back because of everything you're seeing from these guys. And look, I get vets are going to get more of those opportunities. But none of these young guys, albeit a small sample size, none of these young guys have done anything to warrant reducing their minutes in playing time.
Amen to that. You're absolutely right. And I'm glad that the Bucks have kind of learned their own lesson in all of this, Justin. And I know they're a veteran-led team, and the last few years they have been a heavy veteran team. But not saying that, they have a lot to look and be positive about this year. But if you're going to look at this Bucks team right now sitting at 2-8, your bright spots are lying in the hands of your young guys. I mean, A.J. Green has shown you he belongs on the court. Andre Jackson Jr. has shown you he belongs in the starting lineup. You and I both like what we saw out of Ryan Rollins. You think he's going to carve a role out in the future for himself, no matter who's playing and no matter who's healthy. So if you're upset about this Bucks loss and you're upset about the 2-8 start, boy, you got to be really proud and happy, for the direction of these young guys that I just mentioned, because it's been a long time, Justin, that the Bucks have drafted and developed a player like to carve out a serious role on a team. They clearly have done that with Andre Jackson Jr., who's stepped in seamlessly for Gary Trent Jr., and you hope Gary Trent Jr. Comes back, and you and I mentioned those back spasms can kind of stick, so hopefully that's something he's able to figure out, and this isn't a permanent thing, but you absolutely love to see it. And you saw a little bit of Tyler Smith, and I know it was garbage time. We talked about it on Friday, but you liked what you saw out of it. You're a big Chris Livingston guy. I'm a big A.J. Johnson fan. Both of those guys are back up. I don't know what their roles are going to be going forward with this team, but if you got to remain positive about something, the young guys on this roster are showing you that they belong, and that's encouraging. And yes, it's something small, and yes, it's not going to change the outcome of a 2-8 start, but if you want to feel good about something, I think you start there.
Speaking of encouraging, I want to take a look back at the scouting report. I've done this for some other players, Chris Livingston, some of the other young guys. I think we did it last year for Ajax, but the scouting report for Ryan Rollins coming into this season and who his player comps were may surprise you. We'll get into that after this on Bucks Talk.
This is Bucks Talk.
Quiet down. Here she comes. Surprise! Your accountant just emailed to say your quarterly taxes are way higher than you were expecting.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Also, your favorite employee is leaving. They're going to pursue their dream of being a veterinarian.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
A cancer diagnosis shouldn't have to mean living without joy or optimism. At the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin Cancer Network, we're pushing to put cancer in its place. By bringing together teams of leading specialists who are pioneering ways to treat every type of cancer, and by unleashing promising new clinical trials. Let's push ahead until every cancer diagnosis is a story of survivorship. To learn more about breakthrough cancer care, visit freighter.com/cancer.
WTMJ's Eric Bilstad here. Yeah, those sappy Christmas movies are already on TV, so it's time you start thinking about decorating your home or business with some holiday cheer. But you don't have to be the ones who do it. The folks at David J. Frank Landscape have a great holiday warehouse. Let them design something specifically for you. David J. Frank, they'll deal with the ladders and the strings of tangled lights. And here's the best part. They'll take it all down, too, in January. DavidJFrank.com. Here's the website again. DavidJFrank.com.
This is Jeff Johnson.
And I'm Jason Johnson.
And together we're part of Johnson & Sons Paving.
Get your parking lot ready now for spring and avoid paying for extra repairs later on.
We'll come out to your property and walk it with you.
Potholes, damaged asphalt, damaged concrete, standing water, you name it. We'll talk to you about your options and fix it.
Plan a budget, set up an overall schedule with Johnson & Sons Paving.
It's all about doing it right the first time. Call us today to schedule a walkthrough and free estimate.
JohnsonandSonsPaving.com.
Welcome back to Bucks Talk.
All right, a 2-8 start to the season here for the Bucks. Obviously, suboptimal, not what any of us had envisioned. I do want to get to the Ryan Rollins. Actually, you know what? We'll do that Ryan Rollins thing here because the larger point pushes us into these next few games. Coming out of Toledo 2 years ago, the book on Ryan Rollins, smooth, talented ball handler and initiator with good size and basketball instincts, had elite court vision, very good size at 6'4", gives him the ability to see over opposing guards. Tremendous slasher, again, another thing the Bucks are missing here. Possesses a great pull-up jumper, loves to use it attacking in the mid-range. Disruptive on the defensive end with great length. Long arms, 6'10" wingspan, 37-inch vertical leap. At the scouting combine shows above average athleticism. The players that he was being comped to, Anthony Simons and Trey Mann of the Charlotte Hornets. Trey Mann, who is okay, playing okay for the Hornets so far this season, but the type of player that, yeah, that's kind of what you need if you're the Bucks. Averaging 16 points per game, playing 26 minutes a game. You're going to see him twice over the course of the next 2 weeks. So that was the view on Ryan Rollins coming into the season. Now, we obviously haven't seen all of that. You haven't quite seen the offense, but I think that's a good thing. As Doc Rivers has said, I just need guys in the starting lineup that aren't looking to score. And that's one of those things that Ryan Rollins has brought so far. Just, I'm putting everything in defense, and he made an impact tonight. The larger picture, why I'm not going to do the generic, hey, are you panicked? Scale of 1 to 10, how panicked are you? Where are you hovering over the button? We're all concerned. The urgency needs to be increased here. Doc himself even said that before the game. But I'm not saying this is going to happen. But the obvious comparison to make, just for where they currently are, is the 2022-23 Los Angeles Lakers, who started the season 2-10 and went on to make the playoffs. And not only that, went on to make the conference finals. Now, they reshaped their roster a bit, putting it mildly, at the trade deadline, but the Lakers, through that 12-game stretch of 2-10, had the worst offensive rating in the league, had a middle-of-the-pack defense, 18th in defensive rating, and in terms of net rating, they were the third worst team in the league. As far as the Bucks, as of this moment, the Bucks are 20th in offensive rating at 110.6. 115.7 defensive rating is 22nd. So they're in the bottom 10 in both offense and defense, and their net rating right now of negative 5.1 is also 22nd. They're in the bottom 10 in everything. That's where the Lakers were, or worse, and they were 2-10 in a Western Conference that, while we said the East is better this year, the Western Conference has been a monster the last few years. It has been done before, but you got to start to win these winnable games. Like Jim Ozarski and I were talking before the game, and he had said, somebody on the editing staff was talking to me and saying, man, what if this team is like 15-15? And I had to tell them, look, they're 2-8. Like, their thought was, should we panic if they're 15-15? Like, they're 2-8 right now. If they get to 15-15, 13-7 is a pretty good 20-game stretch.
Sure
so
is.
I will definitely take that. That's the spot they're in. You have all of these winnable games in front of you on the schedule. A majority of them are at home, but we've seen the Bucks struggle with those games so far this season. But those are the games you have to start winning. That's how the Lakers peeled off this stretch when they started to turn things around and started the season 2-12, ended up, I think, winning 42 games that year. So it can be done, but you have to start to pull yourself out of it. We will see if that's the conversation we are going to start to have on Tuesday when the NBA Cup debuts here inside of Fiserv Forum, the Bucks and the Toronto Raptors. 7 o'clock tip, 6:30 is when the pregame coverage begins. And as always, be sure to stick around after the game for Bucks Talk. Brandon and I will talk to you then.
Gene Miller here for my friends at Hometown Windows and Doors. Unfortunately, it's not too early to start thinking about those upcoming heating bills.